Newlife Charity, an organisation that supports families with disabled children. She launched the business 30 years ago on the back of a concept to raise money for charity by selling end-of-line clothes that would otherwise go to landfill. Starting out in car boots, she now runs a significant national-scale charity with turnover of £14 million, employing more than 500 people and helping over 10,000 children and families each year. Sheila, it's great to have you here, so thank you for joining us.
That's fine.
People often tell you that there's a book in you, and you've clearly had your fair share of successes and challenges over the years. Tell us about your journey, starting right from the very beginning through to how you launched Newlife Charity and where you are today.
Oh, well, I think if there was a book in me, there might be some swear words with lots of X's through and redacting and things. But yeah, it's a long life, and for 30 years it's been really interesting. I guess it all starts for me, when I became a mother. Before that I'd done retail and various work, but when my first son was born, I had an instinct, although no one really believed me, that there was something wrong with him. And as it turned out many years later, it took 9 years to diagnose him, but I was right, and he hadn't developed well, and he was learning disabled, had epilepsy, and has since developed other problems as well. So our precious Greg, now 46, I can't believe it's that long really, is okay, he's fine, but it really shakes your life. When you become pregnant, you never think this will happen to you. You think it's going to be like the Mothercare advert. You're going to sit in a rocking chair in a white gauze frock and everything will be beautiful. And it wasn't, because he didn't sleep and he didn't eat properly, and it was difficult, really difficult. And so, I've got to be honest, I coped, but only just. And there was a time when I didn't. And like many people, I hit a wall. And thankfully I had a lot of people to support me, and instead of sinking, I learnt to swim and got through that period around the time that Greg was diagnosed. And then things went on okay, and I remarried after a while, and we had 2 other boys, and our youngest son was fine till he was 5, and he developed a condition called Perthes disease, which effectively robbed him of his one hip and damaged his other hip. And so he became physically disabled, and it affected him for a number of years. So I think, and I look back now, when this happened with Greg, our eldest, I sort of went down and struggled my way up. By the time it came to affecting Reese's life, and therefore the life of the whole family, because I've got a precious middle son as well, Carrick, and it had affected us all really. And so that time I think I just got bloody angry. Why had it happened to me? Why us? I didn't step on the cracks in the pavements. I didn't drink when I was pregnant. I didn't smoke. So what's going on? Why? And I think every parent who has a child with disability goes, why? Why me? Why us? Why my child? And I think just having 2 just makes you want to get up and do something about it. There's only 2 ways in life, up or down. You sit in the middle, nothing happens. So you've got to go up or down, and I chose to go up, so I got up and did something about it. Went and researched and found out more about Greg's condition and Reese's condition, so I could get him the right treatment and help and etc. And I'd always been involved in the charity world. My first committee role was when I was 13. I'm a farmer's daughter. It was with the Young Farmers Club. So I've always been involved in charity organisations in one way or another. So wanting to do something to help other children like my own children became a passion. It became a motivator. it became very central to all our lives, and central not just to mine but to our families as well, to the whole families. And so yeah, then I was very fortunate to meet someone, the gentleman I co-founded Newlife with, Leonard Lewis, who'd also got a child with a long-term condition, and we set out to do something to improve child health. And we just started out to fund medical research, really. We wanted to know why these conditions were occurring. But very soon it became clear that there were many children and families who needed help, but ordinary people just like me, ordinary mums and dads, kids who just weren't getting the help and the support that they needed. And so we started a nurse manned helpline, and we were funding medical research by this time. And then our nurse helpline realised that actually one of the biggest issues was lack of equipment. And so we tackled that. And now we're the biggest charity provider of specialist equipment across the whole of the UK. We run the only specialist emergency service for disabled children, and do much more. We campaign and what have you. But fundamentally, the book would say, I probably would start, my husband teases me about this, if I started a book it would say, I'm a dairy farmer's daughter who's allergic to milk, because it says a lot, really. You know, life isn't easy, is it? You know, all of us have these complex things and backgrounds that we have to deal with, and that's, I think that's a bit of a philosophy. You have to find a way to deal with it, you know, otherwise you just sink. So I think that would be part of the book. And I'm still allergic to dairy products, which is really irritating, but it didn't happen until I was much older, so brought up on fresh dairy milk. So yeah.
Yeah, well that's a great philosophy, Sheila, and I'm sure you've brought a lot of that into your business as well. I'm interested to know, you said that you've built the organisation up to 500 people. How have you approached building your team, and how do you create an environment that helps everybody to get the best out of themselves and their own strengths?
Well, I think it's a bit of an ethos. I think I'm a bit of an 80-20 girl, me. I don't believe anything is perfect. I'm a girl of faith, and only, in my mind, only God's perfect. So I don't try to make everything perfect. I try to make it good enough. And I think as individuals, we put a lot of strain on ourselves trying to be perfect, and realising that we're just human, skin and bone, and we hurt and we ache and we react and we do all of those things. So first of all, I think recognising that actually that people can do a good job and it's fine. Being very inclusive. We've always been very inclusive of all sorts of people work for us with all sorts of backgrounds. But I think one of the greatest things is longevity of service. If you can get staff retention, that's incredibly important. In building an organisation, I've always taken the view that you take some people and build them, give them the opportunities to be the best that they can be. So do that internal building, and we've had massive success with that. And I'm, very proud of many of the people who work for us, who've taken the opportunity and really grown. And then you have to bring some people in from outside, and then you've got to understand what your culture is, I suppose, and bring the right people in who fit with that culture. We're rather clan-like in Newlife, a bit more family. And we speak honestly, and we have a sort of shorthand speaking with each other, and we use a lot of humour like families would, and with a lot of teasing and that type, just getting through the day in a nice way, as you do in that clan-like feel. So bringing people in who like that, it's not bringing people in who are very hierarchical and prefer that type of structure. It just doesn't fit. And so while I've run Newlife, it's certainly been of that more friendly culture, that clan-like culture. So then it's about retaining those people. So I've got a lot of people who've worked for us over 20 years, 18 years. This is fantastic for a business, to have that blend of knowledge that's been built up as you grow an organisation, along with knowledge from externally, and blending the two together is fantastic, because you don't have to keep making the same mistakes. You've got 18, 20 years worth of people's knowledge. They go, oh, we did that 6 years ago, and this was the result. And so you don't have to keep repeating things. So I think, it's about 500 people, and of all abilities, and working all sorts of different jobs, from nurses and sales, retail staff, and warehouse people, and van drivers, and finance, and all sorts of different skill bases in that organisation. But in the end, you've got to be a people organisation. You've got to want the best for people. I don't know that we always get it right. Some people will say we don't. We may try and don't achieve. I don't think that should ever stop you. Keep trying. I think it goes back to this: do your best for as much as you can, and try to make it work for 80-90% of your people. And some people will like it and stay, and some people won't. It's just the way that is. But I do think understanding for a business who you are, and not trying to be something you're not. We're a very passion-based organisation. People buy into that great feeling of changing kids' lives every day. That's a brilliant feeling, you know. I'm probably a bit addicted to that. I shall miss that when I retire. So, I think knowing who you are and giving people the opportunity to be the best they can be is really important to that. And probably employing people that scare you a bit. I remember employing our finance director, who's now our finance director, and when I interviewed her, she really scared me. She was so clever. And I thought, she needs to work for me. She's really good. So I think, as a leader, you need to push yourself and accept there's some things you just don't know, and you need really good people who do know, so that they can help your business and organisation grow. Listen to them.
Sheila, as a mother of 2 disabled children, do you feel that life experience has impacted your ability to be successful at work?
Well, I guess it must have been, because I've been down and it's not a very nice place. So you have to get yourself into a position where you learn from the things that have happened to you in life. You don't let them haunt you. You get on with what needs to be done. I think that's a mother's way. We're instinctively programmed to get on with things even when you're tired, even when you've had no sleep all night, and all of those things. So you're quite instinctively programmed to get on and get things done. And also, I think as a mother, you learn what works and what doesn't. And I don't know that I'm that good at many things, but I'm quite good at solutions and finding solutions. And I often find similes out there in normal life can often be applied to the workplace and to the way you do business. And having, I guess, a personal philosophy, or whether it's a spiritual thing, or whether it's just the things that you believe in, the things that matter to you. And some of those things are really important to me. And they were important to me as a mother, but they're also important to me as a woman in the world who's got a voice and an opinion. They're also important to me in business, because they're the things that I believe the ways we should behave and the way we should practice our business. So lots of people talk these days about corporate social responsibility. I'm not too worried about the first 2 words. I think the responsibility word is really important. That actually, as individuals, we have responsibility. We learn as we go along, and to use what you learn to make things better, I think, is really important. I think one of the things I learnt from my children, from my youngest child actually, a very quick story, our youngest Reese, he got to about 13 or 14, and I thought I really ought to have a detailed conversation with him about his disability and what it meant for the future, and a very serious sort of approach to how disability was and everything. And I started to talk, and he turned around and said, "Mom, just stop." And I was like, "But just stop." And he went, "Mom, shit happens. It's what you do with it that counts." shit happens in life. He's right. It's actually what you do with that experience, whether it was a good experience or a bad experience. It's what you learn from that experience and how you then model that into a shape that you can take forward in the future. It's how you deal with it. And once you've dealt with it, learn, draw a line and move on. And I think that's, I'm very much about moving forward. When I used to be in retail, I was told, you're only as good as your next sale. It was a thing in those days, you know. I don't know if they say it anymore, but in those days, it was very much that way. And I guess that does align to that, keep moving forward. I don't believe that we should, measure each other by our mistakes. You make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Draw a line. Learn from it, move on. It shouldn't be our mistakes that we get measured by, or we measure ourselves by. And you mentioned about being, how does being a mother? Well, when you become a mom or a dad, I think you very soon realise that you have also developed this incredibly strong guilt complex. You wake up feeling guilty because you want to do more with your child, or you should be doing this, or you should be doing that. And Mary down the road does this, and she still goes to school in the morning with all the makeup on, and I'd rush out the last minute and I've probably forgotten the dinner money and things like that. And you measure yourself all the time because you feel guilty, because you're working and you're trying to do lots of different things. And I can't say that I don't feel that way, and I haven't felt that way, but I'm not going to let it become the ruler. I think that's the thing, is to put it into perspective. And being busy and having children, I think, gives you that, especially as they were quite young and they got two with quite significant problems, and trying to fit everything in, I guess. People go, you're always busy. I quite like being busy. It's like I'm conditioned to being busy. I'm a mother. So, women are good at multitasking, and so I guess it's helped me learn those things. But I do think your own personal philosophy matters, and what you believe. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm interested to know whether you've had any important mentors along the way, people who've given you a nudge, good advice. Who are those people, and how have they impacted you?
Oh, advice. I mean, there's just too many to recount. In my life, I've known some amazing people. I've been privileged that just occasionally they listen to what I've got to say and seem to do something about it. But I've known some amazing people, from peers through to MPs, to ministers, to just, my gran. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, Sheila. You know what that translates to in business? Be careful who you kick on the way up. You might meet them on the way down. Be aware of what your behaviour is. Be aware of what you're doing. I think do unto others as you'd have them do unto you sounds very spiritual, but actually it's a pretty decent philosophy, really. Don't treat somebody another way. So my gran was, kindest woman in the world. She would give you anything, and she would give you the most amazing cuddles and unconditional love. Now, there you go. Oh, to have in your life unconditional love. That's the most amazing blessing, and I can say that I've had that in my life many times, and it's a beautiful thing to be loved, and it helps you to grow, because I think if people believe in you, you become the best version of you. So my gran had a big effect on me. I think my dad's work ethic as a farmer, up at 4 o'clock in the morning, milking cows, and me having to muck them out a lot, just doing whatever job was necessary on a farm. So a big work ethic, I think, comes with it. But I think I always say to people, don't be afraid to ask for advice. It's quite hard. Some people find it hard, to ask for advice. I don't particularly find it hard. And I wouldn't be where I was, and Newlife wouldn't be where it was today, if I hadn't had the courage to go, I have no idea how to do this. Can you help me? To go to people and say, look, you're really clever at this. I knew nothing about leases, for instance, on buildings. I don't know anything about this. I've never bought a commercial property or negotiated a lease or anything, but I knew somebody who did. Richard G, God rest his soul. I went to him and said, I've got to do this. I've no idea. Can you help me? And, he's a patient and went through it and teased me and laughed with me, and I wrote it all down, and I don't know how many properties we have now. I think you have to have a sort of sense of not being too proud to ask for help and to ask for advice. I find great professionals, I don't know how the hell to do something, but I'll go and ask them, and people who are good people are willing to share their skills and their knowledge and their experience if you ask them in the right way. And be honest, I have no idea how to do this. So, can you give me your insight? And most people are pretty good. So I've learned a lot because people have had the grace, have had that grace inside them to go, she's asking for my help and I know how to do this. So why wouldn't I share? And now people come to me and go, oh, my business is in this situation. How can I do this? And I think you've got to then pay back that grace. Mm-hmm. You've got to pay it back and some, because you wouldn't be doing what you were doing if they hadn't. So as for mentors is a lot. Leonard Lewis, who I founded the charity with, what did he give me? Leonard gave me belief. You only need one person to really believe in you in life. To just know that their backing makes a difference, that they believe that you can do something. And they may not know what it is. I don't think Leonard did. But he believed that I could do something because I was so passionate about it. And if you can believe in someone in your own life and tell them that they can grow too, you get paid back. It's a great feeling. It's a great feeling.
Yep, very wise words there, Sheila. I'm interested in what comes next for you. You are very close to your 30 years retirement point, which is coming up for you very soon. You're used to being so busy, you enjoy being busy. What's in store for you next?
Oh, well, I'll never stop being busy because, my grandma also used to say, you're a long time in your box, Sheila. So fill it. I remember getting a very strong lecture from my rather Victorian aunt, my Auntie Con, when I once dared one day as a child to say, I'm bored, Auntie. Oh my goodness me, I'll never say that again. It's a sin to be bored. And she was right, she gave me the lecture of my life because I was bright and intelligent and I could do lots of things and I could read and I could run and I could do it. So why the hell was I sitting there bored out of my brain? You've got to keep your mind busy and you've got to keep active, otherwise you lose it. And so I don't think I'll ever I might read a bit more. I just sit and read a bit more because I love to read and I'll read anything and I still love to learn, so I'll definitely do that. But this year, my husband and I got to New Year and we sort of went, okay, it's 30 years this year since we started the charity. My husband works in the charity as well and on the commercial side. And we decided that it wasn't just going to be 2022, it was going to be chapter 22 of our lives, that we were going to write a new part to our story. And we've always worked hard and we've always been busy and a little bit time back for us. But I've already taken on another voluntary role when I retire with the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health. So I dare say there'll be other things that I do. Somebody once said to me, you're so passionate about, and I am passionate about, and I'm going to use an unfashionable word. I'm going to use a word called plight, or the state that our children, my children and your children, all our children, who happen to become disabled, and the terrible situation they're left in. It's beyond the pale. It's not how society should be working. We should be giving children with disabilities every opportunity to become the best that they can be, and we don't. We don't invest in them. We don't set them up to achieve and become adults who can be independent and enjoy life. And so that passion, you're not going to put it down. I say, somebody said, you know, you're so passionate. How do you give up a passion? I think you don't. That's the answer. You don't. If you're passionate about something, you don't stop. So I will, I think, always remain. And for the next couple of years, I'll remain as founding ambassador for Newlife. So I think they'll probably get me doing something. But time to be quiet time to reflect more, not on the past, but time to reflect about what the future's going to hold. Because all the women in my family live way into their 90s. So I've got a long time to go yet. I'm banking on it, you know. So I think there's a lot to do yet. More time to have for my own faith and for my own spiritual development. I think that's something that you should never give up on. You should be thinking about what your beliefs are and what you care about, and then acting upon them. So yeah, more time to do that. And maybe go to the pub for lunch sometimes. That'd be good too.
Great. Well, you've spent so many years giving back to other people, so it's great to hear that you're going to be spending some time on yourself soon. Sheila, it's been great to have you here and to hear your story. It's a very inspiring story, so thank you very much. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please join us next time for our Inspiring Women series.